and I haven't even started yet, so I might just leave it. So it turns out Gregg's not gay. Gregg is married. I did not see that coming. That is quite a turnaround. Gregg and Laura have been together for over 3 years now, which might sound good to you, but it's cost me 20 quid. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Gregg growing up, about when he lived with me for a couple of years, that's a few years ago. I've got some pictures for you all. We'll talk about football, the stag do in Budapest, obviously. Got a few jokes about you, JB, because you deserve it. Then I'll try and scrape together a few nice words about Gregg, because he asked me to. As you can see, I've got a PowerPoint presentation here, so there's something for everyone, as I realise it's a mixed ability group, really, isn't it? So the title of it is A Special Kind of Idiot. Gregg means different things to many different people, and more often than not he's an idiot, but the truth is he's our idiot. So I'll try not to swear, but if I do, I apologise. I won't drop the C-bomb, but my son wasn't invited to this, so fuck it. Firstly, thank you to Gregg and JB, the warm-up acts, for their speeches. I did think that Gregg's speech would be a tough act to follow, and I was right. I didn't follow a word of it, to be honest. I'm sure you'll all agree that Laura looks beautiful today. Laura's everything that Gregg had ever imagined, but the best thing about it is that she's not imaginary, so he's making progress. The bridesmaids, Tilly, Nicola, Jenny and Katie, you all look lovely too. I don't see any of you on a day-to-day basis, but I'm sure you've scrubbed up really well today. So, that's the boring bits done. So, I nearly forgot the ushers, Brad, Simon, Dax and Rich. An unenviable task you've done today, pointing people in the right direction and where to sit down. I know you were understaffed, but very well done to you all. So I'm glad I got the easy job of sorting out the stag do and doing this, to be honest. Handing out the order of service and pointing people where to sit down. No, thank you. Obviously, it's a huge honour to be asked to be the best man, and there's a lot of expectation on delivering a good speech. I, like many of you, have been to many weddings and heard many speeches, and you hear the same old jokes churned over and over again off the internet, or things like Gregg slept like a baby last night, he woke up every hour on the hour screaming for his mummy. It's not funny, it's not true, and it's unoriginal, to be honest. Gregg slept really well last night. Slept like a log, found him curled up in the fireplace this morning. So I haven't really looked at the internet for any ideas. The gift and the curse of being the best man for a guy like Gregg is that you can have a chat with him 5 minutes and pretty much stand up for 20 minutes and tell some funny stories. I've known him a reasonably long time, so I've now got the ability to pretty much relay interesting facts about him, just kind of like that. So I'm going to pick out some names and ask you for a month and a year, and I'll tell you something about Gregg. So, who have we got in? Let's go for Wet. Anthony Wetherall, please.
November 2014.
That was Gregg's 30th birthday. He celebrated his birthday with all his friends alone in his shed. Okay, Ian Kenton, a month and a year, please.
November 2016.
Okay, that was also his birthday, but Gregg doesn't know I know this, but Laura told me. But Gregg went to a pop concert, and he was so astounded that he'd never seen live music, and the musicians were so talented, he was so overwhelmed, he started crying. Steve-o.
February 2014.
Well done. That was Gregg and Laura's first year anniversary, and Laura's family put out a special video pleading for their daughter's safe return. If you didn't already know, Gregg has a collection of dads. We've got Paul Anderson, who is allegedly his biological dad. We've got John Corrie, who's pretty much been like a dad to Gregg growing up. We've got JB, sponsored by Adidas, more on that later. Gregg now calls him dad. Sometimes I feel like his dad, and Laura, you pretty much play the role of mummy and daddy, don't you? So I suppose you can never have enough dads. When Gregg first met Laura, he was living with me at the time, and we were talking about her family. Gregg told me that John used to be an unclothed police officer. I think you mean plain clothes. Used to catch paedophiles, didn't you, John? Used to catch paedophiles. 36 years in the force. So if, for instance, during those 36 years there was, say, I don't know, a really high-profile BBC celebrity pedo that did a lot of work for children's charities, works in hospitals, John would have caught them, no problem, so you wouldn't have to worry about things like that. Gregg doesn't know this, but I've got a little gift for JB, just to thank you for his service and for fixing it for him to marry his daughter. I'd love to have been a fly on the wall when the Ripper, Peter Sutcliffe, got his regional nickname. So John opens the paper, Yorkshire Ripper. That's my patch. Okay, so Gregg was born on November the 1st, 1984, or November the 1st, Doncaster. What became known as Ugly Thursday. Gregg was the first baby in the UK to have tinted windows on his incubator. Shortly after his birth came the introduction of free family planning on the NHS. Now, Gregg's alluded to this already, but Paul Anderson did have a vasectomy before Gregg was conceived. So, I mean, credit to Paul, he did all he could to Gregg was never very popular as a child. Apparently the family had to tie a pork chop around Gregg's neck just so that the family dog would play with him. Let's have a look at young Gregg. So we're gonna go back, even further back than Gregg's hairline. Here's something fun for you to do at home, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to replicate Gregg's hairline, you can do so just by simply placing a wheat.
There you
Okay, let's.
Pesky pointer.
So you can see two things clearly from this photo: that Gregg's dress sense hasn't got any better, and Gregg's mum was quite fit. I always remember when we went on holiday to Greece, didn't we, all of us, and Brad had left his phone on the table, so me being me, picked it up because you went to the toilet. I was like scrolling through his contacts and mum. So yeah, okay, I texted her, but I think I put I have AIDS or something. I sent it to you, and then about a minute later, Brad had come back, and when the text is sent and the moment between him coming back from the toilet, you just feel so alive, don't you? And then his phone flashed up again, and it was a text from you, and you just put, "You boys." That pretty much sums up. This is one of my particular favourites. The nice thing to know here is that Gregg did eventually grow some eyeballs into the empty sockets you can
Thane.
I don't know. Sorry, what's that?
He's you know where he's now, don't you? Yeah.
You're not going to nick me for having pictures of children, are you, John? Don't worry. Okay, thank you for that. I've no idea who the other kid is here, but they appear to be having some kind of weird, colourful three-way with this bicycle. I'm intrigued to know whose bike that is, because they seem to be kind of arguing it over it and sharing it at the same time. So it was tough in Donny in the 80s. You can't have a whole bike. You've got to have half a bike. And what you can, although Greg's probably quite excited at having a bike, what you can see here is definitely a saddle. Here's an interesting fact for you. Gregg Anderson backwards was actually a medical diagnosis made when Gregg was 8 years old. No one laughed at that. Gregg left school with 1 GCSE, but that didn't hold him back. What's held him back are his personality, laziness, and his looks. Amazingly, Gregg actually, to be fair to him, left school with 6 GCSEs, didn't you? Which I was amazed by. And I'll give you a bit of time to digest this. One of them was in English. Gregg has often been described.
I've got to see in English right here.
Oh, well done. Gregg has often been described as somewhat of a sex symbol, and that symbol is a question mark. And we can see this quite clearly when Gregg grew from a boy into a man.
I remember that night.
Just keeps coming. Who does that? So, now and again, I like to go on a for a long drive. Sometimes I'll just pick a destination, get in the car and just drive there and back for absolutely no reason at all. Sometimes it's a 7 or 8 hour round trip. Sometimes I take my friends with me. I haven't done this for a while, but the last time I did it was March 2015. I took Kenton, Jim and Craig with me. We just thought to hell with it, we'll go to Wembley and back for no reason at all. So for weeks and weeks, Gregg has been banging on about going to Wembley on Facebook. It was getting overkill basically. Gregg's excitable at the best of times. You can imagine what he was like with the prospect of playing at Wembley. So we all got tickets, we headed down, got to the stadium, we actually saw Gregg's mum on the way in, didn't we? And she was in tears. She said Gregg wasn't playing, so obviously we were disappointed for our mate. And we took our seats hoping he'd come off the bench, score the winner, but then we discovered he wasn't even in the squad. It wasn't until a week or so later when I spoke to Gregg, I asked him why he didn't make the team. Apparently he'd been pestering his boss constantly, like a little 7-year-old, like he does. Am I playing? Am I playing? And Gregg got the impression he might not be the boss's favourite, so he'd sulked for a little bit of training, didn't he, maybe? And his boss said his attitude wasn't right, so Gregg replied, after 2 years you should know how to effing manage me. And this is on the Thursday before the game. So it transpired that his boss did know how to manage him. So, how many other people made the journey? Show of hands? Well done everyone. That's good support for you, mate. That's good support. Gregg's had a pretty good career in football, but he has made more comebacks than Steve Redgrave. Unfortunately, his shoulders aren't quite as strong as Steve Redgrave. I must have slide up here. That's a picture of Gregg playing football, going over the top. So that's it. Greg. Did you win the ball first?
I got the ball first.
So Greg's announced his retirement quite a few times, but for his six-a-side team and whoever he's played for. This is him retiring for his six-a-side team. Can't play, I've retired from all football. Yeah, mate, I'm done. Or ye, mate, I've done. My shoulders come out. So 3 weeks later, the question was, who can play? I can play. Okay, as Greg was a footballer, any ex-girlfriends that I ever met, I always say to them, sell your story. He's doing well at football, sell your story. And they say, why would you say that? Because you're his mate. And I like to think that one day his friends and family would flick through the tabloids and then land on the story and think, turns out he's not gay. So it's a good thing, I was thinking of him. So Greg moved in with me for about a year when he met Laura. He'd just come out of a long relationship, and my observations of him was, how did this guy manage in his life? I also noticed that he and Magnum were quite alike. Both need constant attention, both overexcitable, both run around at a frenetic pace, both like chasing birds at the time. They're both often stupid, but also very loyal and very lovable.
Yeah.
You get that sympathy clap to me. It's my job to do this. Greg and I were both commitment free, so we decided it would be fun to go to New York for a week over Christmas for a change of scenery. I'm not sure if any of you had taken a toddler abroad before, but NYC is an experience. Taking Greg was next level, to be honest. Going anywhere is an experience, even Sainsbury's. One day, I went on a bit of a pilgrimage to the South Bronx. I'm into like graffiti art and stuff, and Greg came with me. And we were planning on going to 149th Street Station way up in the Bronx. It's about an hour's tube from where we were in Manhattan. And as we got further and further north, it's not racist in any way, got loads of black mates, but more white people got off, more black people came on. It became evident that we kind of didn't belong there too. White English guys. We got closer and closer together, didn't we, on the train? And then we got off at the wrong station. It was 149th Street East we got off of. And I knew that we had to get off the train, overground and back, and go back underneath, but we had to walk across the street. So what it looked like was a scene from The Wire, really, wasn't it? It was like people with hoods up and hats and guys pushing their belongings in shopping trolleys. But I looked around behind me because I wanted to be as quick as possible, and I saw Greg just looking up going, look at the blue sky, it's beautiful, so beautiful. Greg, come on. Bless him. We went to the Museum of Modern Art as well, and it was worth the admission fee just to see Greg wandering around just thinking, what's happening? But the whole experience was like seeing the world through a child's eyes, and I really enjoyed every second of it. But I like to think that Greg came back a bit of a more rounded person, really, to meet someone special, and thankfully he did that. It wasn't long after that when he met Laura. Two particular highlights from when he lived with me that time was overhearing him trying to book a restaurant to take Laura out. He'd gone in the other room, so I didn't take the mickey, but all I heard him say was, yes, I'd like to book an appointment, please. An appointment for a meal. And then another time that I'd done a barbecue for him, I'd done Cajun chicken. And I heard you on the phone going, yes, I just tried Caucasian chicken. Life will never be boring for you. Greg injured his shoulder again and moved out of mine and moved into Laura's as he wasn't working at that time because of his shoulder, and she was worried about him keeping up paying rent. His money troubles at that time was a bit like their sex life. He tried to stay on top, but sometimes he got behind. Let's talk about beauty. Let's talk about Budapest. honest, so I'm not into this whole go on tour, stay on tour stuff. So I'm going to spill the beans basically on what happened. And unfortunately for the following people, you'll discover that your husband hasn't been completely faithful to you. So, apologies. Heidi Beardsmore, Alex Wilson, Laura Garner, Fiona Stevens, Kate Wormsley, your partners all hooked up with someone else in Budapest. First of all, JB and Rich. They got together. It's more of a one-way thing, really, not a crush. A couple of days in, JB asked Rich what he did for a living, and then JB found out and said, "There's a world-class sheep shearer in Harrogate called Rich Wilson." And Rich was like, "Yeah, that's me." But JB was starstruck for the rest of the trip. That's them together. And then we discovered that John was sponsored by Adidas. We all looked on in wonderment as he took off an Adidas sweatshirt to reveal an identical Adidas top underneath, just in a t-shirt format, same colour and everything. So we were expecting him to just keep going on like a big Yorkshire Russian bull. Next up, these two clowns. They happened to be sat together, Steve Owen and Simon. They happened to be sat together on the plane. They fell asleep into each other's arms, basically. They woke up pretty much lips locked together, and they were inseparable ever since. And weirdly enough, they were brewing together as well. And you shared a meze platter last night. So a bit of a bromance went on there. Mr. Wormsley. So Steve met Ashley Gibson, who currently plays rugby league. And it was a bit embarrassing to see a 45-year-old man turn into a gushing 12-year-old girl. He asked him for a selfie and then stalked him on Facebook, asking him to send a picture. And awkwardly, we saw him in the airport on the way home and he hadn't sent the picture. It was a little bit awkward. Okay, I think we're done. So we got to the airport and I dressed up Gregg as a fairy princess. There he is, looking beautiful. Someone asked Gregg where we were going and he replied, "Budapest for my hen The following day, a splinter group, mainly based on that table in the corner over there, they booked themselves in for a spa day, so perhaps they may have been better suited to go into Hendon. I felt it was my responsibility to look after Gregg while we were there, so I made him breakfast every day out of his dog bowl, which is one of his tales. To be fair to Gregg, he did so well on the stag do. He had a lot of tasks to perform, and he drank a hell of a lot, and I was impressed with you, mate, so well done. As I was making breakfast one morning... What was that?
Tilly heard that on the funny, so...
No, he was good. He was alright. One day I was making him breakfast. I sent him out for drinks, so I asked him for a cappuccino and an orange juice. And then 15 minutes later, he came back with a herbal tea and a fruit tea. I was like, how does that even happen? And I told you what I wanted. So what did you actually ask for? He said, I just asked for classic. It's a fantastic weather. We met some guys from Bramley while we were there. I think it was Rich who made the initial meeting with them in the toilet. He said we were from Harrogate. The guy said, "You posh bastards." He didn't actually say that. He said, "See you next Tuesday." So, and this guy from Leeds said, "There's 13 of us, 15 of you, so let's go outside for a fight," which is exactly what we wanted on stage. Sorry, who's that? You heckling? So, I don't know what Rich said, but I imagine it was something like, well, delightful to make your acquaintance. Thank you ever so much for your lovely invitation of a physical duel. We're going to discuss this amongst our peer group and we'll get back to you. So we sized up our squad. Suddenly, no. We can discount before we went on the spa day yesterday. They'd have been scared of breaking a nail. Paul Anderson was already fighting just to stay awake. I could hear Tom Ryder saying, "I need a wee-wee, but I don't want to walk past them. I'm a farmer, not a fighter." So that's basically 8 against 13. I needed the toilet too, so I walked past them to see what was going on, and Steve, bless him, was talking to them all. They were quite big, weren't they? So I was like, "All right, lads, you having a good night?" And, "Are you muscly? Look at your muscles." So, "Steve, where's the toilet, please?" So we needed a plan B. We discussed this amongst ourselves and thought, you know what, we're not having this. There's more of us than them. We're going to stand up to them like men. They left us no choice, so we did what any other strong group of men would do. We stripped Gregg naked and carried him across the bar towards them as a gift.
Everyone's looking for a photo.
What's up? This is a clean show. Clean show. So Gregg was the biggest. So the doorman stopped us, told us to leave, so it averted any conflict, which was fine with us because we were there to have a good time on it. So Gregg was the biggest weapon we had, so sometimes it's good that men think with their dicks. Another highlight for me was witnessing JB's bitter spike with tequilas by Simon. Not one, but two. And I love Simon's thought process of, I mean, tequila's quite a strong, overwhelming drink, but I love the fact that he thought that one's not going to do it, I'll put 2 in. And then Steve put salt and pepper in just for seasoning. It was mate. So we left the pub and Gregg was stripped naked again by Rich, Dax, Cy and Steve-O in less than 30 seconds, and it was like a military operation. It was both frightening and impressive and a little bit rapey. So pretty much a sexual assault happened in front of JB. You won't be surprised he heard nothing about it. Yeah, to be fair, JB wasn't there, but it was a good joke, but I think you've gone for a massage, haven't you? In fact, that was the night you buggered off and made us pay the bill. Was that JB? Free bar everyone. So, no more jokes about you now, John. I've done 3 now and that's enough. 3 strikes and I'm out. I said 3 strikes, not 3 stripes. Adidas. Very quickly skated over that. So, unfortunately, we discovered Hungary's famous herbal cure, which is called Unicum. And the taste is what I can only describe as abhorrent. It's absolutely repulsive. So, I've got a bottle with me. So, me and Gregg. Some shot glasses. So anyone who went on stag do, please come and have a shot with us. Anyone who's intrigued to know what it tastes like, come and have a shot. So I do not want to take that home with me. Not now. So Unicum, the local drink, and there's 3 clear indicators not to drink it really. Number 1, it smells like toxic waste. Number 2, it's got gum in it. There's no, you can't sugarcoat that, can you? What appears to be a universal sign for hospital Red Cross, so you don't want to drink it. So this is one of my favourite picks from Budapest, Paul Anderson Laura. There's only a quick change of clothes, but look at with his hands in his pockets. We might be in the confines of our own room, but you're in a foreign country, you can't be too careful to pickpockets. We found a few lookalikes amongst our attendees. If you can stand up, Anthony Warrell, please.
Ooh, Santi.
That's Santi, thank you. Stand up, Rich Wilson. That's alleged rapist. Stand up, Simon Garner, wherever you are.
No, it's not that.
His twin on the plane home. Sorry, I just put the same picture up twice there by mistake. Funny enough, Gregg announced to the world a few years ago that he thinks he looks like Joe Hart. Now, I actually think he looks a bit like former Middlesbrough defender David Wheaton. Gregg's a true professional at football, as you can see. He's a true professional at work too, and definitely not the kind of man who, when a client hasn't paid him £30, he wouldn't wait outside the house till they've gone to work, then break into their back garden, steal a plastic set of tables and chairs, load them into his van, and then hold them hostage in my back garden until such a time the owner of said items paid £30. Gregg also has some issues with timing. I'd arranged to meet him at midday to put up a fence in my garden once. I'd rearranged my work hours around this, so it got to 12:30 and I texted him to see where he was. He said he'd be there in a bit. He turned up at 2:15. So I asked him why he wasn't on the time. He said, it's midday. I said, no, Gregg, midday is 12 p.m. It's the middle of the day. There's a massive clue in the name. He said, oh, I use trading hours, so midday is between 12 and 3. I was like, right, okay, Gregg, just out of interest, what time is midnight? Because I'm not really sure. I said, what time is noon? He said, I'm not sure, is that the same as dust? So it's quite close to Christmas, so let's talk about Secret Santa. So for a couple of years now, much to our amusement, Gregg has been concerned that if we don't have an even amount of numbers at our Christmas party, then we can't do Secret Santa. So this is how it works in Gregg's head. Gregg buys for me, I buy for him. If you add someone else, then they can't have a present. So you could have 101 people, Gregg, and everyone's getting a present, assuming they've been a good boy all year. So this will be a eureka moment. Let's say me, you and JB are at a party. I buy for you.
Yeah.
JB buys for me.
Yeah.
There you go. So let's talk about Laura and Gregg's honeymoon. We've got a brilliant honeymoon planned, although I'm not entirely sure Gregg knows where he's going. They came around to mine a few months back, and this conversation happened when I asked them about it, and this is word for word. Laura, where are we flying to, Gregg? It's in your book. It begins with B. It's in your book. That's like a big cardboard book. Gregg's obviously thinking, Barnsley, East Bradford, I know this. And he said, I really need to laminate today for itinerary, he didn't say itinerary, for the van so I can read up on it. Laura, we're flying to Bangkok, Gregg. Bangkok in Vietnam. Laura, no, Gregg. In Thailand. Gregg, is that in Vietnam? Laura, no, Gregg. So it's going to be a fun time for them. I'm nearly done, sorry, I've been on a while. Gregg requested that I finish by saying some nice things, and I can't tell you enough how much of an honour it is to stand up and speak on behalf of someone so nice and so popular, career-driven, someone who excels in their sport as much as you do. So thank you, Laura, for letting me. Gregg is an accomplished lawn cutter, a competent Snapchatter. He actually asked me to be best man by Snapchat. He's the kind of guy who puts vinegar on a fillet steak and also orders a bacon cheeseburger without cheese or bacon. Gregg's an inquisitive guy wherever you go with him. He's always asking questions, and that question is more often than not, what's the Wi-Fi code? Gregg has size 11 feet, and you know what they say about guys with big feet, Laura? They say it's far more difficult for them to become a convincing transvestite. I asked around a few people to see if they had any nice words to share about him. I didn't have much luck. He was, however, described as arrogant, conceited, insensitive, and selfish. Personally, I think it's a bit harsh, but I suppose if anyone knows him, it's his mum. Seriously though, I do think an awful lot of this guy. He's like a little brother to me, a little retarded brother. He's got a heart of gold. He would do anything for anyone. He's hard-working, committed, and I know that he's going to display the same kind of commitment at being a husband to everything else in life. So you've got a good one, Laura, and he'll be a brilliant husband. But, There's one more thing I need to do for my own conscience. and it's difficult to know how to say this, but I'm going to do this in front of everyone. You're married now, so we can draw a line. This is the first day of the rest of your life. It's a fresh start. In the beginning, and it was only the beginning, Gregg was away a lot with football training. I'm sure it was just for safety, or if Laura got lonely or scared at night time. I need to do this so my conscience is clear, and that is to give back the key that Laura gave me for the back door.
Very good. Very good.
I'm nearly done, so thank you for listening and laughing. Marriage is not about finding someone you can live with, it's about finding someone you can't live without. So not everyone finds that special soulmate. So I'm so happy for my mate that he's found that, and you found that in each other. I wish you many wonderful, happy years together. So ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding, raise your glasses for the bride.